So I want to thank all the panelists for coming up and telling us about your internships. And I want to open it up for questions from the audience for the next 15 minutes or so, because I know some people have to leave. But we can continue anything beyond that for everyone else. So go ahead.
For those of you with hard science or engineering backgrounds, how do you compare patent law with Cyberlaw in terms of how do you feel about both areas?
Patent law and cyberlaw?
Yeah. Patent
law, you need the tech background. You need the actual science degree. Cyberlaw, you do not, you just need the passion. So, the science degree helps, but it's not a prereq like it is with patents.
I think I would say that you kind of, if you have an engineering degree, it's probably good to figure out which you really want to do. Like I know for me, I came in, I was like, well, I'm going to consider patent law because I have this engineering degree. You know, it's kind of like, people are like, oh, you have that, you should definitely consider patent law because, you know, that kind of gives you an advantage, blah, 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 whatever. But I think for me, I didn't even know what patent prosecution really involved. I was like, I don't know what that means. What do you do on a day-to-day? So I'm actually, because I'm crazy, I've been doing 2 internships. So I did the FCC, and then I was doing like a 5-hour like legal trainee program at a patent law firm here, and I'm still doing that right now, just to kind of get an idea of what kind of projects, what all it involves, whether I really want to pursue this. And while I find it interesting, at this point I'm still starting to feel like, for me, cyber law is more interesting for me than sitting there kind of reading through patents and writing responses to the back and forth to the patent office. But I think that it just depends on who you are and what you find more interesting. I actually know a couple people, someone who works at a telecommunications law firm and actually somebody who works at Public Knowledge, both with substantive engineering degrees, who came to law school with the intention of doing patent law, and after doing internships realized that that wasn't really where their heart was, that wasn't really what they wanted to do long term, so they ended up going the cyber law route. So I think overall IP and cyber law do overlap in terms of copyright and trademark, and to some extent patents too, but I think in terms of the hardcore patent prosecution or litigation, if that's the route you're going, they probably won't overlap as much. I would say copyright is probably the area that overlaps the most in IP with cyber law, at least from my experience.
You're also working at a patent law firm, just having a computer background. It's interesting to work on open source licenses and things of that nature. If you're interested in that, a lot of IP firms do a lot of that kind of work. Those are where the clients go for that. And you just between the 2 fields, cyber law, you look at the client. Usually that's the public, and you're doing a lot of policy work. And for a lot of policy work, the technical degree might help, but it's really not necessary.
So I'm an evening student too. Were you able to balance work and an internship and school all at the same time?
For the first year, I just did work and classes. Second year, I did 3/4 time work. Basically took a partial leave of absence, the internship, and classes. And then third year, left work, realized I was not going to go back into the tech industry as such, and did 2 internships and the classes. If you're doing that, what I do strongly suggest is you make sure to take summer classes, your 1L and your 2L year, simply so that you can spread that credit burden out a little more and get down to the more reasonable 8 or 9 credits a semester on top of that. So.
Any other questions?
I got 8 hours of sleep every night. That was never sacrificed.
Okay.
So for someone without an engineering background, can you give some recommendations as to think tanks or maybe firms that specialize in copyright, maybe DC and abroad, mostly for Carolyn?
Yeah.
copyright firm in town. It's called Kirkpatrick Stockton. It just merged with Townsend and Townsend, which is a big patent firm. But they hire lots of copyright people. Otherwise, see, it's interesting because I realized as a 1L going into 2L year that the soft IP work was what's going to sell me. It was the tech internet work, which in a lot of firms is still technically in their intellectual property division. But if you say privacy, data security, internet law, that gets you a heck of a lot farther than saying copyright. Or even and antitrust too. Like antitrust, you don't technically have to have a tech background, but I don't know, probably 60% of the hot antitrust cases in all these firms are involving tech companies and internet issues. So, yeah, well, I'm working at Quinn Emanuel. Quinn Emanuel doesn't care if you have a tech background or not. Their attitude is if you're a good litigator, then you can pick up the technology. So I was very lucky there because everyone I interviewed with was like history majors who now represent Google. So it's kind of nice. So those are the two I know the most about. There's a couple others, but yeah, if you're looking at privacy, data security, then all of a sudden you have Hogan Lovells and all of the other top firms, Covington Burling, yeah, Wilkie Farr, yeah.
I don't really know anything about copyrights then.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Any final words of wisdom from our panelists?
Words of wisdom. I mean, I guess just what I said earlier about making the conversation about something very specific and making yourself stand out as being associated with a particular topic and having a better answer than what just interests me when someone asks you why privacy, and tying it to specific experiences. I mean, it's not easy to get a job, but it's also not impossible if you make the conversation about your strengths. So.
For the first job that you get, whether it's going to be government or public interest over that summer, you want to get your applications in January as soon as possible. So after exams, start scoping out where you want to work, look at the websites, identify the contacts, start writing your cover letter, build your resume, and have it ready to go by the end of January when your grades release. The reason I say that is when I went to apply for mine in early February, Epic had already hired all their interns for that summer. CDT was partially complete and were already interviewing by the time I submitted the application. And I got similar stories from the other ones that I talked to. So to get something, you're going to need to get your grades and have your applications out immediately. Otherwise, you're not going to get looked at.
That is ideal. I just remember, maybe it was just my LRW. I remember it was mid-February. My professor casually asked us, how's the job search going? And we all kind of looked at each other and were like, yeah, we should, get on that. And just don't panic. Just to throw some numbers out. 1L year, I probably sent out maybe 35 applications. Some of them are more involved than others. And then I also went to all the fairs. I think that helped a lot. And, that was for the public interest, the Cyberlaw groups, and I think those are a little bit easier to get. Second year, just again to throw out some numbers, applying for firms, I applied to almost 100. And, just to see the difference in difficulty in getting these kinds of jobs.
Yeah, it was funny. That's actually similar. 1L year, I only applied to the 3 jobs that I cared the most about, and I got offered 2 of them, and I ended up splitting my summer. One of them was with the religion constitutional law think tank, but you can't get jobs in that. That was just for fun. So I really didn't have a problem 1L year. I went to the fair, the public interest fair is actually probably the best fair our school puts on. They're actually hiring from that. Check Simplicity. There's always a lot of good stuff on Simplicity. And yeah, go to these networking events because there's a whole bunch of these groups, of these think tanks that actually aren't even thinking about, they don't have a formal hiring program. And if you meet someone and say, hey, I want to do privacy law or tech antitrust or whatever it is you've made up that you want to do, they'll actually say, oh, we could use an intern, that'd be fine. We won't pay you anything, but we could use you. And then you'll get great work because you'll be the only intern there. But yeah, between 2L and 3L a year, I think our sound something close to 350 applications to get one job. So, yeah, I actually hired my brother who's unemployed to like mail merge and like do all my cover letters for me, like, because I did that.
Yeah. I'm a 2L now, and I'll tell you, I don't have the time. I did the whole on-campus recruiting thing this summer and had some interviews, didn't go anywhere, and I literally have not applied to anything since then, which is probably not a good thing, but I don't know. I'm just figuring it'll work itself out. I don't know. I'm not stressing myself about it just because, I don't know. I keep looking and I don't really see anything that excites me, at least on Simplicity right now, so I'm trying to figure out where else to apply, where else I can apply, because I do think to some extent, while GW has the faculty that have backgrounds in this, I don't necessarily think the school itself, at least in the Career Development Office, has a focus on Cyberlaw or anyone who can really help you with this. That's kind of why we're trying to do this, to give you some idea of what's out there. The CDO might put up, they're going to put up whoever contacts them, but if they don't contact them, it's not going to be there. You might have to do some kind of outside researching for yourself to figure out where you're going to apply. So
the IT person is, I'm forgetting her name, but she's actually pretty good about, these just general technical fields. If you want to make an appointment, I know you're assigned to a CDO counselor, but also make an appointment with her.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Grab some more food in the back as you're leaving. Make the cleanup easier on us.